Hello, viewers. I'm SB.
And I'm Amabel.
A little quiet.
And I'm Amabel.
And one more time, hit it.
And I'm Amabel.
Okay, at least by my calculations, at least one of your intros should have occurred by the time I'm saying this. My computer is haunted, is the thing. So there's been some audio desyncing going on, and I am incredibly frustrated by it. Hopefully, I have fixed it for this episode, but it's an intermittent issue related to Windows itself, and so it's not something I can actually repair in any serious way. I just have to remember to restart the machine to fix Windows processor leak problem. They should make software that's good over there, but they don't really do that anymore.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'm very close to switching off of Windows entirely. This Copilot shit. This Copilot shit is on my last nerve. It will, yes, it will make some things really annoying, which is the only reason I haven't done it yet.
And thank you for the people in the chat for pointing out the desync problem.
I mean,
we wouldn't. I'm saying thank you. You don't need to thank.
I'm a professional. I knew it was happening. It's just there's only so much I can do about it.
Yeah, I get it.
Anyway, so Tolyran, the giant tree man, has laid siege to Karak Kadrin. He's got an army of 14 units. He is trying to burn us down a little bit here. So we have a little bit of time before the attrition damage starts in earnest. But you can see we're already losing some health. We have the ability to just launch our garrison at them, to just sally out and see what's what, but I don't know that I trust this garrison army, which is like, there's a unit of Black Orcs, a couple units of Biggins, like 5 units of boys, some archers, against whatever it is that he has. Remarkably little information on that, even though they're right at our walls. But at the very least, he's got these malevolent treekin, which you can see 90 armor, 47 melee defense, not hugely damaging creatures, but I mean, they hit pretty hard, but they have poor melee attack, is what I mean. But they do also have Frenzy, which makes a big difference, and they're just tough. The tree, we've been fighting with a lot of enemies where it's just like whoever's getting in the damage first is gonna win. It's like sort of a damage race kind of thing. Against these tree folk, they're designed to take it and just keep pouring. And so it's going to be a very different sort of contest rather. But we got to figure out what we want to do here, because I don't trust our garrison to solve this problem. We have Grognok Foe Spike kind of in the area, sort of. A move to Fallen King Mountain, followed by an underway move, could get us over here in like 2. That might be enough time for them to take Karak Kadrin from us, but we probably get it back. That does leave our, Grom Peak itself somewhat underdefended in my opinion. We have Nagbad Crooked over here, our stand-in for Skarsnik. But I kind of want him to push out onto the Blasted Wastes and try to claim the rest of this province.
Right.
Remember, we have to end up in control of an awful lot of land by the end of things here. So I do think that would be helpful. And then we have Azhag, but I kind of want Azhag could try to wrap around here.
Yeah.
And Azhag obviously is trying to chomp up a lot of the other territory here. You're about to ask if we're on turn 69?
Yeah.
Yes, we are. In case you wanted to make some kind of hilarious internet joke about it,
I don't make internet jokes about 69. I live 69.
That's so much weirder of a thing to say. All right, so here's my number 2 thought. Number 1 is obviously we deal with Tolyran. Number 2 is Essen is currently unoccupied as far as we can tell.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to make sure that we get there before a vampire army gets there and colonizes it and makes it hard for us to get a hold of, because we don't want to fight with the vampires. So I think
wait in line behind them.
So I think that's going to be probably Azhag's move. Is that a joke about immortality, or
joke about Essen, the famous board game convention. That's like the
Ah,
center of my industry.
a joke about the long lines at the Essen board game convention, right? I'm with you. I'm following. We got ourselves a scroll of blast, plus 10% targeting range for all spells is pretty cool. And then blast is, like it sounds, just kind of an explosion.
What you want?
The scroll of blast sounds like either a processing chip in a Sega Genesis or a Mountain Dew. It sounds rad in either case.
I guess it kind of sounds like a flavor of Mountain Dew. I can see that. So each different school of magic has a passive ability available in its first box that fires whenever you cast a spell. For the Lore of Death, it is just plus mana. You cast, and it generates more energy for casting.
See, what I noticed with Mountain Dew is that none of the names of them are okay. They're always going. None of them are chill.
Okay.
None of them are relaxing. It's always like a fight in your mouth.
Yeah, like a Baja Blast or a gamer fuel, which is like, what if you had gasoline in your mouth? Right? I'm struggling.
Yeah,
Listen,
yeah,
I want to support the bit, but I do think it's a little thin, so I'm trying really hard.
It feels like it'd be at the 10 games.
The what?
The 10 games. Those are the games with like the skateboarding and that. Like a sporting event.
Oh, okay. I see. Yes, the infamous 10 games. Because the 10 stands for 10 stream.
What you want?
So let's see here. That wraps back around into our territory. I guess we don't really know what's going on over here. Gouger Rotgut is just serving as a scout right now, which is not a very high XP activity, unfortunately. But we need to know what's going on around here. Okay, so here's Grimgor again. That's interesting. So Grimgor holds the territory north of these guys and the territory southeast of them. Not quite what I was expecting. I'm gonna have Varag run over here and scout these ruins. Are we sure these are actually empty?
Did it look like those territories were linked as well? So like,
Okay,
I mean, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean it would be pretty weird for there to be a Skaven force like under Essen, considering there's no indication of Skaven anywhere else around here. But it's just weird that the one settlement in the middle of everything is sitting empty. Okay, so here's a problem. This is not just a secondary army, but in fact the secondary army led by their legendary lord. Dicha is a very mean-spirited wood elemental. So this is their actual like military force. Okay, I think we are.
Is it led by him?
What?
Because the first thing in there is
Dicha.
okay. That's okay.
Yeah, this
Okay, it's not showing you the picture.
You can see when you click on the army, it has Drycha's portrait.
Okay.
Like,
okay. I'm sorry. I got confused by. I'm not used to the first slot being question marked.
it is extremely weird that is the case. I might argue that should never happen. Like, if you can see anything about the army, you can see who's leading it. But whatever, it's fine. I think I'm gonna just not spend a lot of money for the moment. We're waiting until Khazad-dûr-Khazad gets upgraded. So okay, they have almost 2 armies worth of units here, with Grognok plus Azhag and the backups, the Log armies. We'll have about twice as many total troops in the area. It's just a matter of figuring out how to apply them most intelligently. We're generating scrap at a much higher rate than we were before, but we still don't have enough scrap for more than like a couple of meaningful unit upgrades at the moment. You can see certain AI players' turns are starting to take a lot longer.
Yeah.
as they develop larger and more complicated positions. How dare you? Well, I think we know what's happening to Yobaz the Black. It's just going to be these these two very low-level heroes standing in the middle of a blasted wasteland plain, trying to wound each other over and over again. Having a long cinematic duel. Something right out of Six String Samurai. Okay, but Grimgore's moving southeast, it looked like. Oh. Moving southeast and then returning at half health in March mode. So he went southeast and lost a battle.
Have I ever told you the story of the first time I saw Six String Samurai?
I don't know. Okay, this is gonna be this is gonna be bad news. But because it's a proper attack, we get to see the full typing of these armies. So let's get an eye on here. All right, so they have a lot of malevolent dryads. This is kind of like the basic infantry unit of this faction.
Okay.
You can see there, 43 attack, 27 defense, a little bit more similar to our own units. They all have frenzy. They have only 60 armor, but they have 20% physical resistance on top of it. So pretty tough. They have a fire weakness, of course, because they're tree people. We don't really have a lot of ways of taking advantage of that, sadly. They all cause terror, so they're immune to our terror, which is a shame. They got a couple of units of elite elves, 47 attack, 41 defense, with, if I can get the tooltip to stick. Yeah, with a pretty significant bonus versus infantry. These things are a little scary. They also have, they have a leadership aura. They have missile resistance they can turn on. They have some kind of dodge ability that makes them... Yeah, they manifest as just flat missile resistance. And then a lot of those sort of mid-level big tree spirits. Also some giant spiders. These are ambush troops. With those poison attacks, you can see. They got a manticore on board. Some giant wolves, some giant hawks. And then, of course, the one army is being led by a tree man, which is basically just... In terms of what this unit does in combat, it's a lot like our giant, except that it's extremely heavily armored and very, very tough.
Is it very slow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Drycha has, as you can see here, some unique abilities. Lowers spell resistance within a pretty large area, so you get a lot of extra spell damage. Does magic damage herself to take advantage of the lowered spell resistance. And then just kind of a scary wizard lord fighter. Overall, a pretty tough unit. We're gonna obviously lose this battle very badly, and there would be no sense in playing it out manually. What are they gonna do? They are sacking it and moving away. Looks like. Yep, leaving it in our control. And they're bringing up another...
Pretty fearsome tree people.
Yeah, I'm a little worried.
I'm used to tree people being kind of ineffectual.
You're thinking of sort of a Tolkien-Ent kind of thing, where they're powerful, but they're sort of farcical.
Not so much like the Ent cells, which is what I call them since you did that bit a couple years ago. But no, I'm thinking more of, I guess them, but I'm thinking more of the trees from the Tree Court episode of Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Okay.
Or the trees from Wizard of Oz. Tree people generally don't actually seem that threatening. More creepy. So these are really a thing to be reckoned with.
We have failed to get an assassinate. That is so much talking for that bit. You love to have an idea and then just deliver it over How can I put like 1,500 words under this? So
I'm not writing the bit. I'm doing it off the top of my head. I don't get to edit and do a new draft.
So Dreadshot and Tolyran together have about as many troops as either one of our armies, but you know the WOG stacks, they have numbers, but the troops in them are mostly pretty bad. Like the entire stack following Ozhag around is just garbage troops. There's a single unit of trolls. That's all we got. So I wouldn't necessarily want to do the 1v2 here, because I think we'd probably lose. I think we're going to get beat on average troop quality. So we have to figure out, how do we put Ozhag in a position where we can like potentially group up with Grognok without getting jumped in the open here. We have a pretty good idea of how far Tolyran can move. Drycha's in march mode, so Drycha's movement as drawn on the map here is not like super meaningful to us. I don't know exactly how far Drycha can move while still being able to engage in combat, you know?
Right.
So Tyrion could start a fight. Like, I really do want to get to Essen, but unfortunately it would be a really bad idea to take Essen right now. I'm going to try advancing in stealth. Let's go into ambush mode, which we're a little bit better at than we used to be. And if we stick to these heavily wooded areas, we can get a pretty good chance of staying under, 81% ambush success chance. Hopefully they just won't notice us.
Make sure none of the trees tell on you.
Unfortunately, the game does not have any mechanics like that. The tree spirit based armies don't get extra knowledge of the woods, except I think in Tolyran, where they can see everything. I really wish there was something like that, because I do think that's a cool idea. And Nagbad, I mean, yeah, just keep taking stuff. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Bunch of undefended settlements just out here on the Badlands. Nagbad has earned a great cave squig to ride.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Also, he's well nasty, apparently. I don't know that we needed to know that. So this gives you 3 uses of a fermented fungi ability, which dramatically lowers the melee defense of a unit and puts rampage on it. That's pretty funny. Just gas an opponent to force them into combat while blowing up their defenses. Ah, yes, and then we were going to stab this man. Okay, we also failed. Prepare for a lot of that going back and forth. But like, he's kind of exactly where he needs to be to give us the intel that we want, right? I guess the only thing I would kind of like to know is, what did Grimgor fight? What are you at war with right now, friend? So you're at war with the Challengers of Khorne, but they're to the northwest. There's a war with Clan Rictus. We don't know where Clan Rictus is. And he's at war with Goldtooth, which is one of the major ogre factions. Yeah, we don't have any idea where they are. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I think Clan Rictus starts... Let me control the map, damn it. I think Clan Rictus starts down hereabouts, and I think the Goldtooth ogres are in the mountains between this range and Cathay. So, like, over here.
Yeah.
So, realistically, it could have been either. An army in that position could belong to either of those factions. I don't really want to see armies of either of those factions in that area, because it means we're going to encounter them, which I don't want. So, they damaged all the buildings, and it is an expensive task to repair them.
Boy, do I know that.
Leaving them unrepaired leads to general massive control penalties. So if we don't repair them, there's a pretty good chance that we're looking at, rebellious behavior over here in the near future. I'm not going to repair them this turn, I think. Once Grognok gets a little closer, we'll see about it. But right now, I'm a little concerned that I might spend all the money to initiate the repairs, and they might just turn around and take it on their next turn, right?
Okay. Right.
So, you said, boy, do you know that. What's, do you have a little story for us?
Oh, just from I've been playing.
Because I know you have been continuing your Pharaoh game.
Playing Total War Pharaoh. Well, in that I've restarted my Pharaoh game several times, and now feel comfortable moving forward with it. But yeah, having to repair the things is quite expensive, and there it often costs stone, and the faction I started with, like the introductory faction, does not start with stone income. So I've had to do a lot of diplomacy trading, or had to actually go and conquer some stone area to actually be able to do the repairs, and like it sucks. I mean, it's good. I like that it creates tension, creates goals, creates all sorts of fun stuff. But it is a pain in the ass to fix things. I'd rather them not get broken in the first place.
Yeah, it's definitely a better strategy. I don't like this. Other players are scouting Essen. Everybody's like, really? Free settlement, huh? All right, Grimgor, what are you up to? Huh. There's not even a settlement in that direction, is there? Okay, Bartorg Nexotus assassinated the guy we were trying to assassinate. I think we'll probably just run Gouger out here to... Sorry, what?
Masha Bigaget is quite a name.
No, Masha Bigaget.
You say so.
Like a bigger than you.
What's a get?
A get's like a person?
Okay.
The KU gets... We talk like this all the time. We use this word all the time in our quest text and stuff.
Oh, that okay, gotcha.
You're just not paying attention to any of it, huh?
Yeah, but I have trouble holding on to things.
Okay, all
I'm
right.
paying attention.
Oh, Skarsnik's ready for duty. Yeah, it's been 5 turns. Means all of the orcs that we fired on that turn also are ready for returning to duty. We have completed the mightiest fortress. We upgraded a settlement building to level 5, and so we receive some cool shit. The Skull Wand of Kaloth. Enemy leadership -4 for all enemies in the region, and a Skull Wand that lets you discourage enemy. Yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. Also, there's a blizzard in Karak Kadrin. The weather in these lands is rarely governed by the seasons, and now a blizzard of icy shards has come scything down from the mountains. Those not prepared will die. Yeah, that's a pretty serious penalty. -50% movement range, -50% replenishment rate. Fortunately, there's no real reason for any of us to go into Karak Kadrin anytime soon, so it's all the way up here.
Okay.
So we're not really in any danger here. All right, I do think we kind of won on this. Tolyran ran forward like to cover Essen. His army's in march mode, somewhat damaged from fighting vampires and not that big in the first place. And Azhag is right here ready to pounce. I think this went about as well as it possibly could have. And because they are in march mode, they can't even retreat. We just get to chomp. Amabel, will you be upset if I auto-resolve this?
Go ahead and auto-resolve it.
Because this is like a pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, we would crush them here. I'm going to take... Well, the army replenishment is really quite small, isn't it? What do we get if we ransom them? Another 1,300? I think I'm actually going to take the ransom. Alright, so we killed Tolyran. Got 1,000. Yeah, we're just completing more and more and more quests.
I am true power.
You have leveled up, and okay, you already have Smash Them Faster. You're kind of set. Ooh. Yeah, 30 more armor-piercing damage per strike and a bonus versus large. Seems pretty good. Makes him an even better hero killer. Which is definitely the role that that he seems to have evolved into with his very, very high melee attack and defense. So I think with Grognok, let's just... Can I make it into Karak Kadrin? Can I make it into Karak Kadrin with an underway move? Yes. I would rather do that than sprint in and have us be tired, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so how much movement does Azhag have left? A little bit. The question is, what do we want to do now? Because now Drycha is in this position, right? Karak Kadrin is probably off limits with its massive reinforcements. Drycha is in a position where she could just rush Azhag. If we try to go and claim Essen, colonizing will require that we devote some, portion of our men to settling the area, and so it will deplete the size of the army pretty significantly. I mean, I have just enough movement left to drop into ambush stance. I'm actually gonna do this, and then can I nudge myself into the trees a little bit here? Yeah, it didn't really help. We're not really in the trees.
Well,
but on the off chance that Drycha actually doesn't see through that and doesn't realize we're there, her just wandering into us as she tries to go and claim Essen could be very funny. And then, I think I'm going to try to remove... We're not formally at war with this player, and you don't have to be to take hero actions against them. But I think I'm going to try to remove Ulrich Wolfhard here, mostly so that there's not an extra player getting a reveal roll against us, because if we are revealed by anyone, we are revealed to everyone.
Okay, that makes sense. Also, I appreciate you making your decisions to maximize comedy rather than strategy. I think that's very good.
I don't know the difference.
I know, sweetie.
All right, so you are gonna get replaced here by Skarsnik. Let's have a look at our brand new Goblin Warlord. So, the stalking stance is a thing that Skarsnik uniquely has access to. He gets a bonus leadership of 8 points for Night Goblin units, bonus melee defense for Night Goblin units. He gets his own special wog, as all of the legendary lords do. His special wog gives a lot of bonuses to missile weapons, so it makes a lot more sense to build sort of like a goblin-y, missile-y army under his control.
Skarsnik, warlord of 8 peaks.
And then on top of that, his army gets +6 armor-piercing weapon damage on their strikes during ambushes. He has Skarsnik's Death Juice, which is a poison that does deal damage over time. +4 melee attack for orc infantry units. So this is like a big list of stuff that he's got built up now, including his skill points. But yeah, this is good. He's a powerful fellow with a powerful friend here. So, also an unspent skill point. He's got this ability that gives bonus weapon damage and bonus versus large to everybody nearby. He's got the fungi. He's got that same underboss's ability. Backstairs tactics. This is where he's getting the bonus stats during ambushes. Looks like they were building toward... Okay, so they got Smash 'em Faster with him, which is not bad, I don't think. He can get a pretty significant melee attack bonus for all Squig units. Pretty significant melee attack and melee defense bonus for all Night Goblin units. It's interesting that both of those bonuses apply to squig hoppers? Yeah. So that gives the squig hopper definitely a pretty powerful role as sort of a fast moving what's it called, shock cavalry.
Okay.
I think we can play into that. So he took, with his red skills, he took bonuses for trolls and giants and stuff. Bonuses for goblins, of course. Makes good sense. And then some bonuses for orc boys. I would probably have preferred to grab riders here to synergize with his other stuff, but whatever. And then... So the second red line box contains very powerful single point bonuses that only apply to units in your army that are rank 7 or above. So these are like bonuses for your big elite units.
Okay.
You only have to take one of these bonuses to get to the final thing in the tree. He chose the one for the monster units, giant monster units, which I think is fine, probably. Broadly, I think I prefer the one that replies. Like, if you're only going to get one, probably the siege one is my, more reload time reduction on your siege units is a big deal. Let's start looking into this squig thing, and we'll maybe reform his army a little bit to lean into that over time. But right now, I think we're just fine. And let us make with the murder. We can almost reach this settlement. It's very frustrating.
Make 'em bleed.
What do we want to do on the Blasted Expanse? I think I probably want to just save for upgrading this so that we can get access to the diamonds.
Makes sense.
And Varag Pigkissa got a skill point up somewhere. Let's make you better at damaging walls. Can we see what is going on down here? Aha! It is in fact Skaven.
Friends.
Kill things.
Rat friends.
Oh boy, these are armies. Okay, so this Skaven army here, under the control of Pustin. Just go ahead and complete the joke yourself in your head. Is made up largely of storm vermin, which are the sort of heavy infantry of the Skaven ranks. You see that 90 armor, good shielding. The great weapon ones have okay weapon damage. The bonus versus large is very significant. But you might notice they kind of don't have the greatest actual attack and defense stats relative to like high tier heavy armor units. Okay. And they also have the Skaven problem. So these ones have 75 leadership, and in theory that's pretty high. But Skaven units are sort of famous for their constant cowardice.
Okay.
However, what Skaven units have that makes them actually really powerful is this scurry away ability. So the moment that their leadership hits wavering or lower, they gain significant raw damage resistance and a huge burst of movement speed. So they break and they run away really effectively, and they're very good at surviving the retreat. And so storm vermin heavy armies have this sort of like natural wave cycling thing they do, where the units are like breaking and running, and then when they get their shit back together, they are running in as the second wave breaks and runs, and so they're just like cycling past each other over and over again, which can be actually very annoying to fight, depending on what kind of units you're using. And then we have 5 units of rattling guns, which are just very extremely high fire rate. I mean, they're machine guns. Extremely high damage, infantry destroying, hail of bullets type machinery here. And then some plague claw catapults, just the standard catapults, except also they leave behind a poisonous gas that terrifies enemy units. It's like
also chemical weapons.
Yeah, chemical weapons. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know if I had made this explicit.
They're not nice rats.
The Skaven army is all war crimes all the time.
I have a question.
Yeah. What's the question?
Wavering.
Yeah.
Is the point at which an army is wavering
the point at which a unit is wavering is when their flag is like it's flashing white between white and color?
That I know.
Okay.
I'm asking, when it happens, is that the leadership has fallen to a certain percentage of their overall leadership, or is there
no? It's a value. I'm pretty sure it's a value. I don't know numerical specifics for a lot of this stuff.
Okay.
All right, let's start these repairs now. I think I'm confident we're going to be able to hold the settlement now. Also, these upgrades are reasonable. Yeah, I don't know the hard numbers for like where morale states change or anything. I apologize.
That's okay. I'm gonna look it up real briefly while you're.
Yeah, if you have the ability to find that quickly. There's enough going on, so I am very much I'm very much a know the numbers under the systems kind of person in video games generally. There is so much going on in a battle, and values are shifting, and bonuses and malices are being gained and lost so frequently that it's very hard to keep track of what value anybody's at from moment to moment.
Yeah.
And so I'm a lot less familiar here, just because it's harder to be. It would be harder to make use of it in an active way.
Right.
All right.
Whereas
so
I'm coming at it less from like how do I play this, and more like, a design.
Yeah.
Basis.
So the Skaven did win a battle at the Gates of Zhar. It looked very costly, though. It's worth noting they did not apply their biggest army. Their biggest army just ran to the south. It seems like they're playing sort of like a game of tag with Grimgor Ironhide, where they have all of these armies kind of running in and out over and over again and retreating and drawing him away. As far as a strategy to just like waste WOG time, I don't know that I think it's terrible.
Yeah, I'm not really finding anything there. So anyone in the comments knows this stuff, please leave a comment. I sometimes read the comments. Unlike my sweetie, who is too powerful to read comments.
Yep, that's definitely what's going on. My brain is too good at torturing me with other people's words.
You know what comments drive me a little nuts sometimes?
What's
Haven't seen it in a while, but there are comments where they talk about your friend, meaning me, and
Yeah.
like we are friends.
We are friends, yeah.
But
and roommates, if you can believe it. All right, I think we're coming up on the tree people's turn here soon. I'm very curious what Drycha's going to do. So, starting to put together a new army in Bakafid.
Cough at these nuts.
Okay.
Bustin makes me feel good.
Yes, that was. Thank you. That was the joke. Amabel, it's like you have a string on your back. Just pull it and let one of your catchphrases pour out. Okay, well, here's some great news. We can definitely kill Drycha this turn. We're just learning you some more Soul Blight. And then in normal movement mode, do I make it to the edge of the zone? I think I do. So we move Grognok, Foe Spike, right over here to the edge of... So, here's how we get reinforcements into a battle. See, Grognok Foespike is on the edge of the zone of control there.
Yeah.
With Azhag, if I mouse over, you can see there's a yellow support arrow now coming from Grognok into the settlement. That means that he is in reinforcement range. He will show up to the battle. I would prefer to have Grognok do it himself, but he just doesn't have the movement to engage that battle. And obviously, with these numbers, we absolutely annihilate them.
All right.
We bring to bear roughly 4 times their army.
Yeah, because I was having trouble with the Pharaoh game, figuring out when someone was in reinforcement range. So having that knowledge certainly. There's a lot to these games.
Yeah, yeah.
And I did play some of the tutorial, but then I was like, I just want to play the game, and I probably should have stuck with it more because maybe they probably would have said that.
Maybe. The forest's most embittered wargrove could not overcome you. The briar maven of woe is felled, her hate-filled spirit erased from this world. So we've become immune to the special kind of attrition that you get in the big magic forest of Tolyran for Azhag, and also we reduce control in enemy provinces by a much greater degree. He has achieved victory in multiple offensive battles. So some of the traits have these like sort of sliding scales. As you achieve victories in offensive battles more and more, you will intensify this trait. Or if you keep losing in offensive battles, you get the weak version of it. So we're just sort of slowly sliding up the offense trait here. We've leveled up enough to unlock some more, what do you call them? Some more regiments of renown. We're getting closer to some of the more exciting stuff.
And something called a follower? Have you talked about followers before?
Yeah.
Can you remind me about followers?
Yeah, so lords have space for a retinue, effectively. You can equip followers in these slots. You can also equip like banners in these slots that can be assigned to your various units.
And they give you little passive bonuses.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Not super relevant here. The Shroom Gatherer doesn't really do much for Azhag's army. Now, unfortunately, because we had to have Azhag be the leader on that, since we didn't have the movement on the other guy, Azhag had to be the one who claimed the settlement, and as such, Azhag is now completely out of movement. But we can throw Grognok Foespike into March mode and continue onward. My plan will be to grab Essen with him.
Okay.
So that Azhag can go past him and keep conquering. Okay, Grognok, what was I doing with you? You were getting red stuff. Okay, so yeah, like I said, we've got into this big veteran unit bonuses line. Nobody in our army. Well, okay, the regiments of renown are high enough level to benefit from these bonuses. Our squig hoppers are getting kind of close. Our black orcs are getting kind of close. Our trolls. So unfortunately, those guys are all on different skills. Basically, we have one skill that dramatically buffs all the goblin stuff, one skill that dramatically buffs all the orc stuff, one that does monsters, and one that does siege units. I guess the trolls are on the monster skill, right? Yeah, so maybe this makes the most sense. 5 melee defense, 15 missile resistance, and 12 weapon strength. The missile resistance is really nice for making sure that your big units don't just get shot to pieces. Because that is a concern that you probably don't really have to be thinking about in the historical games too much. But like the actual physical surface area of a unit serves as kind of a debuff when you are fighting ranged armies. The bigger you are, the easier it is to hit you.
Yes, boss.
Varag is going to turn around and harass these guys.
Yeah, the way in which things are physically modeled is so cool. I keep going on about it, but like it's such a cool thing because like in like a tabletop game, I might give like a bonus against like a larger opponent because there's more to hit, especially in missile fire, right? But to actually have the thing be a bigger actual target and the thing actually flying towards it, that's so cool, and I like it so much.
Yeah, you get a little taste of that in games that use like true line of sight, which I think Warhammer does for determining whether or not units can shoot each other within range. 5 attack, 5 defense. This just goes on some goblin unit. Okay. All right, slowly we're taking over the Badlands, and at this point we're not seeing a lot of resistance.
Yeah.
I appreciate that we're able to make steady progress here, but I always worry about this being kind of boring. You know?
I mean, it's not. It's like cause it's moving at a nice. I am waiting for a fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I know.
But you know, like again, I was playing that Pharaoh. I played like 35 turns of that Pharaoh game this morning, and a lot of it was just setting up stuff, doing like slow moves, getting stuff in place, and like the texture of that can still be very fun and appealing, especially in a computer game, in a way that it wouldn't be for me in a board game necessarily.
Okay.
If I'm taking 35 turns to get something done in a board game, start to get a little anxious.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine 35 turns passing in the same way. Again, we talked many times about that sort of like the incrementality of the turns in 4X games and sort of computer strategy games in a general sense. You're modeling much larger things and you're modeling them down to smaller pieces.
Yeah. And people have more patience for that incrementality, I think, because even competitive games, strategy games in computer spaces are primarily solo games. It's not a social experience.
Although you absolutely can play 2-player campaigns in at least the Total War Warhammer games. I don't know about the historical ones.
Yeah, and the you know, in solo board games, especially solo like simulationist board games, you do have a lot more granular detail, and like it's not as desperate to make sure it's not wasting your time. It lets you take your time with it, but it's never nearly as incremental as this. I just find that really interesting.
So you can see here Grimgor's armies running out and attacking these Skaven armies, and the Skaven have been careful to position themselves such that if they get caught and they retreat, they are outside of the enemy army's remaining movement range. So they were forced to back up, but they're not actually getting attacked. I don't know where the vampire players' armies are. I'm inclined to let them have Castle Tempelhof if they want to take it. It's part of the same province as Eschen. And so, like, it's, you know, we wouldn't be able to take a whole province here. And it's another headache I don't really need.
Tempelhof these nuts.
Wow, he put together an army fast. Okay, so this is interesting. This army is mostly wild animals. Feral bears. They got some bats up here.
Cool.
And this is... Zavastra has some actual defenses. You know what? I think we're going to fight this manually. We might lose, but I think we can shred this army up pretty badly at the very least and make them have to,
Okay.
slow them down some. But this is a settlement where we built proper defensive structures. So we have, the ability to construct towers and whatnot. Like
We're usually not on the defensive side of these things.
we haven't been so far. All right, so we're going to get to deploy in
like a Girl Scout cookie. The red line shaped like a Girl Scout cookie.
Okay, I guess.
Sorry.
The desyncing audio is a little bit more difficult to diagnose or even be sure it's happening than I think a lot of people realize, because you love to start speaking shortly after I have started speaking. I can't tell if it's a game you're playing or you love to let me start. Let me get 3 words in, and then you start an unrelated sentence.
Oh no! Sorry.
Okay, so here's how this supply system manifests from the defender's end. You can see there are a number of locations where you can build in town, and then in a barricade location, you have access to a platform barricade or a blocker barricade. Which is tougher, but it doesn't have that spot at the top to stand on to shoot off of, Or a monument barricade, which gives a buff to your nearby units fighting there. Or a trap barricade, which is basically just a stick with a pit with sharpened sticks in it and a big carpet.
Okay.
And then you have your tower locations where you can build arrow towers or siege type towers at various supply costs, and each one of your supply points that you are controlling generates, X supplies per second, right?
Okay.
So our opponents have set up in 2 chunks, as we can see on the map in the upper right. Over here, they've gone bears and wolves, spiders. This is all melee troops. And they have here set their tree man, which is certainly a scary dude. In the other chunk, we have their flying units and their elves. Mostly flying units. Now notice these Great Hawks, 30 melee attack, 24 melee defense, only 15 armor. Actually pretty soft. But they have that 46-point charge bonus, and so they're effectively aerial shock cavalry,
Yeah.
Cave bats are a little bit better at melee defense, but they have a very low melee attack and a very low charge bonus, and they're kind of just not good at anything. What cave bats are good at is falling down on top of a unit of enemy archers and preventing them from firing meaningfully for a while. Is basically their whole deal. Well, of course they're great at eating grapes, Amabel. It goes without saying. So I'm more inclined to, obviously, to try to stack up archers on that side and just see if we can shoot through our problems really fast. Keep in mind the build location when we mouse over it here. It does draw a little green line indicating the direction of its supply location that we have to keep hold of in order to continue using it. When we mouse over the thing, does it show us the firing area? No, not really. Okay, but so the big difference between the tower types obviously is, why are you freaking out like this? There we go. You can see 70 damage. 30 armor piercing damage. The catapult type towers have a not just a higher base damage, but also do area damage.
Okay.
So you get some decent explosions versus these ones, which are just taking out individual bodies. My inclination here is to we have a room for a tower there and a spot for a tower here. My inclination is to build like a couple of arrow type towers on this side. Well, you know what? Honestly, shooting down siege type towers into the bats that have like gathered on the ground might be worthwhile. But I think my inclination is to build like, let's go arrow tower, arrow tower. Another thing to keep in mind is that you can continue to build stuff. Why is this not working? UI is a little finicky sometimes. You can build stuff during combat. You know, after the battle has started, we'll continue to accumulate supplies and stuff. Anything that we build right now in the pre-combat phase, it just finishes instantly, is assumed to, you know, have been figured out beforehand. If we try to build something during combat, it will take time. We'll click the button and it'll build over the course of like 30 to 90 seconds, depending on what it is. So that's something we have to be a little bit smarter about. Here, because this is all tightly packed ground units, I actually want to build a catapult tower here. So I'm going to wait for 200 and then build that, and hopefully we won't pay a terrible, terrible price for that hesitance. We're going to use 2 units of orc boys to just sort of hold the neck here. Yeah, we should have our biggins nearby because they're anti-large. Yeah, both units of biggins on this door. I think I like that. So I'm going to separate these into 2 groups in the bar here, based on which gate they're at.
Okay.
Do you want the trolls on this side? Probably. We definitely want the archers over here to start with, and they're going to need a couple units of, you know, just raw melee to do their thing. So let's go with a couple units of arrow boys here, a couple units of arrows over here. You guys are group 2. And then we have a few more sort of handfuls of units nearby. It's tough to know what the flyers are going to do. And obviously they can cause all kinds of weird issues by just like flying past your units and then landing inside the city in the zones of control. It's a lot more dangerous when they have like a dragon or something. When there's when they're just hawks or bats, you can keep a unit of cavalry in reserve, and when they land, just mulch them, you know?
Okay.
I think I'm going to put... I'm a little leery of leaving the units on this side with too little meat, but I really do think like the majority of the fight is happening over here. You know?
Yeah.
So I'm a little... All right, let's set you up like here. Okay, we'll call that good. Here we go. So watch the... You can see the rate at which the supplies are increasing right now. It's fairly significant. They are casting spells on us. You can see these bats are taking huge amounts of damage from the archers. Why are you guys backing up? What the fuck are you doing? Alright. Melee troops in. And of course our towers are doing what our towers can do. Okay, select 1400 for the catapult. 90 seconds. Now you can see it's taken a lot of their units time to get in. The bears have rushed in real fast. And we're going to move the biggins up to assist with that, because we should be able to anti-large these bears pretty quickly. Bears do not have great defensive stats to start with. We're going to need to keep an eye on this stuff over here far more than other stuff.
You know what I want to thank you for yet again?
What's that?
The bear in the
Brothers.
thumbnail.
You see, we've already broken one unit of cave bats. They are fleeing, so let's try to get these guys engaged. You're welcome. That bear earned its place on the thumbnail. That bear by itself damn near ended an entire campaign. Alright, the bats are falling apart all over the place.
Come on, lads.
Okay, so you guys need to make with the charging. We need to make sure our arrows are focused on these enemies over here. We just do our level best to break units, get them running. We don't need to actually defeat them. We just need to back them down and cycle backing them down, basically, right?
Yeah.
All we care about is lengthening this battle, because the longer things go on, the more supplies we accumulate and the better things get for us in the long term. All right, they're bringing their lord up. It looks like they're keeping a couple units of guys in reserve, and I don't understand the reasoning for that. I think that's probably wrong. But I will absolutely take it. We are 44 seconds away from our catapult being finished. Okay, they're bringing the other guys up now. Let's go ahead and hit our big wall. See if we can get the trolls in here.
Stickers ready.
You guys move up. I'm not really sure what I want to... The boar boys are probably not going to be needed on this other front, I don't think. It seems like we're winning. Yeah, we've had some breakthrough over here. The bats are back, unfortunately, as was going to occur. Because these are not direct fire troops, we can. I would prefer to break one side entirely first, but we can have these ones turn and fire over. Obviously, troops that are firing indirect have a lower accuracy.
Right.
Honestly, maybe they could use the help. Yeah, let's just see if we can.
Let's do this.
Where's the scrap? Let's get some.
See if we can get the contact troops changed out a little bit here. Alright, how's this other front going? There's two front battles. I'm a little worse at them. I apologize.
Most people are.
Yeah.
You know, historically, you don't want to fight on two fronts.
But here's the thing. The AI is not, right? The AI is fully 100% is like a computer can just manage all the thoughts at once. So we're starting to accumulate a lot of supplies, and I'm thinking about our next build. I'm not sure where that's going to be. One downside of fighting here is that we really only have one tower location. Also, I didn't realize the tower range was so short. Is that right? 200 range? Huh, okay, so we might want to, it's going to be hard to pull back safely. But we might want to, if we can pull back a little bit, we might want to. Let's see what that ends up looking like, you guys.
Run, boys!
Alright, boys in there. Trying to get y'all across. Goblin sword infantry around to the side. There we go. We can see the tower shooting now. I think we're more likely to do a charge around this side. So let's try to position the infantry for that.
Gotta kill him. Charge.
Got some real strange behavior going on from our ranged units. I bet I know what happened here. I bet I didn't put these guys in guard mode. And I bet they, they caused a flee and then tried to chase the fleeing unit. Okay, so we broke in those guys. We're about to have a log again.
Get going!
Okay. I cannot believe what a bad job this unit of goblin archers is doing. I guess I can, because they're goblins. But it's embarrassing in any case. Alright, here comes that cavalry charge. And we are at 1,504 now. Where do I think... Here's the question. Do I think they will go for this supply point? Or will they just... Will it matter? Because if they do, there's a tower point here that's probably worth building on. I'm going to go ahead and do this and try to bend the fight in this direction. If they break those troops entirely, we'll have like our archers line up over here. Biggins, focus on that tree lord. Not the best units for the job, but they are the units we have. Decent charge against the malevolent dryad. Seems to be shattering their morale, which is great news. Can we just get a breakthrough? It looks like a lot of our mass went through. And if we can get a breakthrough and sort of gather up on this side, we can do the same thing to these treekin here.
Let's get 'em.
Yeah, so the cohesion's really bad. Get him. Okay, so this is spear dancers that are broken. Those units are broken permanently. Can you maybe break them permanently? Okay, you guys are fighting the treekin, which is great. We've almost won this side, actually. But I don't know how much help that's going to be in the long run here, right? Because these are not very good units for fighting what the enemy has left over. I mean, I guess, like, a bunch of archers against the tree man is still damage. It's just the tree man has, like, 140 armor. You don't usually think of arrows as the tool that you want to use in such a circumstance, but if it's what you have left... Okay, the treekin are breaking. Great news. I'm going to have the boars come out here and charge anything that thinks that it's going to regroup into the battle. Let's just make sure these things leave. You guys can go help with that. Because it seems to me like these bears think that they're going to be rejoining. A lot of you guys just kind of hard missed there. All right.
They're trying their best.
Okay, there we go. Broke you. The bears are not skull flagged yet, so we're going to keep at them until they are. This guy is starting to capture this point because he retreated onto it accidentally, which is really annoying. Okay. That's a breakage. Can y'all turn around and catch? Yeah, okay. It wouldn't take much damage to break these war dancers again, but we do need the damage to happen. And they're not quite in range of the tower, the cowards. Are you guys for real? There we go. Okay, permanent break. Actually, I think we're seeing a surrender. It turns out the upgraded garrison was enough to hold them.
Good job, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Good. I mean, the game predicted that you would lose, and you did not lose.
Yeah,
you did win. You came into it like maybe we'll lose, but you kicked ass.
The auto resolver, again, it's not necessarily the greatest at predicting what is going to happen, and it definitely overvalues certain kinds of units.
Yeah, someone in the comments mentioned that the auto resolver doesn't take into account the time it takes for ranged units to get into range. Which, if so, that's wild.
Yeah, and it will often, like when you do auto resolve a battle, you'll see it often treats ranged units as though they get to fire all of their ammunition. You'll see that reflected in their kill counts. It doesn't. It has no way of. There's no way of getting those things, because like the whole point of the auto resolver is that it's supposed to be able to resolve things instantly, and so there's no way to really like cram down the complications of what all is a battle into math that can run fast enough. So you accept some trade-offs for necessity.
Yeah.
But this is pretty bad because I think this was their only army at the moment. When I say pretty bad, of course I mean pretty bad for them.
Yeah. No, I understood that.
It's great news for us. So the garrison will heal up over time at the natural rate of troops healing in a friendly settlement. So pretty quickly. We could ransom for another 1,000 gold here. We could take some healing. Leveling up a garrison. I don't know how much this actually matters. I think I'm going to take the money. I don't think any of it's like amazing. You know, it was a pretty small battle. It was a pretty small number of troops overall. So the values are, yeah, but like those are the units that survived. The units that maintained army cohesion. They have 4 of them. All right. Unfortunately, in the Pillars of Grungni, the squigs have broken out of their pens, causing havoc, eating their handlers, and sending the remaining Night Goblins scattering. So, -6 leadership for Night Goblin units in that province for a while. Not a big deal. Okay, so we are going to call it here, but before we call it here, I'm going to just do this real fast so we don't forget, because that would be hilariously bad for us. So, when you colonize an empty settlement, it costs a little bit of money, and then your troops are tired, they're vulnerable. Oh, okay, they changed how it works. It used to also, like, cut the size of each multi-person unit down significantly. I guess they've replaced that with just the vigor penalty.
Okay.
Still dangerous. Then we have to build it up from absolutely nothing, but the important thing is we are now working on these objectives. So once again, we need 30 different settlements sacked. We are at 23 right now. Occupy, lose, loot, raise, or sack. 30 different settlements. We are now at 0 of 3 settlements in Ostland claimed. Also, Ostland's getting diverse in kind of a weird way. And here in Ostermark, we are now at 2 of 4.
Okay.
The remaining ones are Mordheim, which is... Oh, right, it's that one right there that I just clicked on, that Grognok's right next to. And then, of course, Amabel. Bekoffen, which we will ride hard to with Azhag. And then once we've got those down, how much do you have left? 4. So we know you have the Griffinwood, of course. You have another settlement, further down that we're hoping the vampires will take. Okay, so we'll be able to end the Wargrove of Woe kind of at the same time that we're cleaning up these objectives, and doing so is going to put us really close to our number of settlements necessary for the short campaign victory. And I think that what we'll do here is probably just play to the short victory, because the longer victory is just the short victory plus another 30 settlements. And you can imagine what it will be like to do that. And certainly nobody needs to see this happen.
No, I'm happy for the short campaign victory, and then to see how another faction works. Because the whole WOG thing with the secondary armies following you around and whatnot.
And you have the building reputation and the trophies and all that. The scrap system.
That's unique to Greenskins?
Yeah, all of that stuff is unique to the Greenskins. In addition, of course, to their actual army list and the tech tree. And
so I'd be interested to see what gimmicks some of the other factions might have, you know.
Yeah, I'm definitely eager to sort of hop around and get to show you a bunch of cool stuff. So that's going to be it for us for today. Thank you all so much for watching. When you come back next time, we are wresting control of this forest away from, let's be honest, the people to whom it rightfully belongs. And we're going to burn the whole thing down just kind of out of spite, because we're definitely the good guys in this here conflict. And we'll see you then.
I feel great about this.